I thought I was chosen to represent the Enclave, but in reality, I was given to outlaws. They thought I'd go quietly. They thought being unable to birth sons made me useless. But when an ancient creature begged me to save his people, I made a choice no one saw coming. My name is Nyla. 10 years ago, I discovered I couldn't birth sons. In our world, that's a death sentence. I had very few options, very little worth, until the day the council summoned me before dawn with no explanation. They said it was a diplomatic mission. They said it was safe. They lied. This is what really happened. The summons came just after first light. I was barefoot in the garden court. The marble tiles were cold beneath me when the runner appeared. No scroll, no escort, just a whispered command. Council chamber. Private audience with White Thunder. Immediately. I should have been nervous. Instead, I was curious. I dressed with care. Cream silk robes, gold trim, my curls pulled back with a soft band. I added a jacket and sturdy shoes, just in case. The council chamber was too quiet. Usually it buzzed. Clipped footsteps, low voices, the scent of lavender drifting beneath the crystal windows. But not that morning. That morning, silence waited for me, and so did White Thunder. He stood near the hearth, tall, composed, dressed in deep blue robes, silver white hair loose around his shoulders. No guards, no aides, just him, and the weight of something he hadn't said yet. When he turned to face me, he smiled, and my stomach dropped. Something had happened, and it wasn't good. "Nyla," he said, stepping forward with arms open. "There she is, still the loveliest symbol of our bond with the Breedables." I bowed my head and kept my voice even. "You asked for me, White Thunder?" "I did," he said, motioning to the velvet chair across from his own. "Please, sit. I won't keep you long." I walked to the chair, calm on the outside. Inside, I was bracing. He poured the tea himself, light floral, Enclave tradition. The air warmed with its scent. "How have you been?" he asked. The question caught me off guard. "I'm fine. I just returned from Greece, with a few others. It was peaceful." "Good to hear," he said, and poured more into my cup. "Tell me, do you know much about the Outpost near Virehold?" I hesitated. "Only that it's unstable. There's been talk of unrest, rebel sympathies, harsh winters." "Yes," he said, sipping calmly. "And a rising curiosity." He met my eyes. "They've requested clarity on our system, the nature of contracts between dragon shifters and breedables." I blinked. "I don't understand." "Surprised me too," he said with a light wave of his hand. "They're questioning the white ball?" I asked. "Not directly," he said, smiling slightly. "But their leaders are skeptical, curious about power, lineage, structure, and while we could ignore it, we'd rather not." He leaned forward, warm, coaxing. "We want you to represent the Enclave, speak to their leadership, attend their upcoming gala, show them the honor and elegance of what we've built." My mouth parted. "Me?" White Thunder chuckled. "Of course you. Who better? You were chosen by a master dragon. You've served at formal events with quiet dignity. You know how to listen, and more importantly, how to make others feel heard." My heart picked up speed. "I'm honored. But surely someone else is more qualified. I wouldn't know how to—" "You're as qualified as anyone," he interrupted. "Smart, well-spoken. You'll travel with an escort. We've already arranged the route. Safe, discreet. No risk to you." I shifted in my seat. "And what if I say something wrong? Offend their traditions?" "You won't," he said. "You speak with the kind of truth that calms storms." I swallowed hard, torn between caution. and something else I couldn't name. Then his tone shifted, just slightly. Besides, it wouldn't hurt Mikado's training academy if the Outpost softened toward the council. A peaceful contract renewal would make trade easier, open access to new recruits, resources. My stomach nodded. He had me. I'd been with Mikado nearly 10 years. I would do this. For him. I looked into my untouched tea, voice low. If I do this, there must be no mention of my past. No questions about heirs. Nothing. White Thunder nodded solemnly. Of course. Your privacy is your own. You represent us as you are. Silence stretched between us, thick with things not said. I lifted my chin. Then I'll go. White Thunder smiled like he'd known all along. Excellent. The skies will thank you, Nyla. I stood, smoothed my robe, bowed once. As my footsteps echoed down the corridor, I started thinking, how much would I tell Mikado? And would Sasha call me insane? 3 days later, a sharp wind sliced across the landing platform, tugging at the hem of my thick purple robe and worming through the seams of my deep yellow jacket. I stiffened, not from the breeze, but from the kind of cold that wraps around your ankles like wet cloth. Frost clung to the stone railings, thin as lace, just as brittle. The steps beneath my boots had been swept, but ice still shimmered in the cracks. I passed a weathered statue of a winged sentinel, its surface pitted, one eye missing, and touched its base with my gloved fingers. The stone burned cold, even through the fabric. My first impression of the Outpost? Not favorable. I wouldn't live here, and I doubted any Breedable would. The air felt heavy, like the whole place had been carved, not built. No flowering courtyards, no lavender-scented breezes like back home, just shadows and silence, stone and steel, dark, heavy, waiting. A low groan of metal echoed in the distance, a gate opening. My escort, layered in coats and wraps, marched ahead without pause, leading me across a narrow archway into what looked like a sunken courtyard. 3 tiers of mismatched buildings surrounded us. Stone gave way to metal, metal to scorched wood. There was no elegance, just function. I felt pinpricks of awareness crawling across my skin. High balconies, narrow windows, silent watchers tucked behind layered shadows. I tucked my chin and kept my pace even. White Thunder said this was safe. Mikado thought it was smart. Sasha thought I was crazy. The hem of my robe brushed grit. My fingers stayed clasped to hide the tremor I could already feel rising. We reached a narrow iron gate near the base of a low tower. My escort stopped. The liaison's quarters, he said, then stepped aside. I moved forward and stopped. There was someone just inside the gate. I hadn't seen him at first. He blended into the wall like he belonged to the stone. But he didn't. He was tall, broader than Mikado, still as granite. His skin shimmered faintly, dark but threaded with a low burning gleam beneath. Arresting. Not unnatural. Just impossible to look away from. His eyes met mine. Gold. Slit pupils. Unblinking. A jagged scar ran across his jaw. His wrists were bound in thick silver cuffs, faint runes etched into them like forgotten prayers. No name. No crest. Just silence. Wearing skin. It was rude to stare, but I couldn't help it. I'd never seen anyone like him. Not dragon. Not breedable. Not anything I'd ever been trained to speak to. Still, I kept my face composed, folded my hands at my waist. Hello, I said evenly. I'm Nyla, a representative of the Enclave. I waited for a word, a nod, anything. He didn't bow, didn't blink. The silence thickened, pressing in like fog. I counted to 5. My escort had left. "Will you be showing me to my quarters?" I asked, voice level. He moved, not fast, not slow. Each step deliberate, precise, like a shadow that had learned to carry weight. His cloak didn't sway. His boots didn't echo. He led me into the tower. The walls inside were rough and cold, carved directly into the mountain. The air smelled faintly of iron and damp ash. We passed no one. I didn't speak. I was too busy watching, listening. This place breathes differently, like it's holding something under its tongue. He stopped at a thick wooden door on the second level and stepped aside. I glanced at him once, then stepped inside. The room was clean, bright, elegant. A large bed, warm fire, expensive rugs, a pitcher of water on the table, a folded blanket on the chair. Shock rippled through me. This was not what I expected, not in this place. I swallowed my reaction and turned back toward the doorway. "Your name?" He met my eyes. "Binopik." Then he nodded and disappeared. Later that night, the firelight glowed soft and amber in the hearth. It cast long shadows across polished stone floors. The room was warm, impeccably furnished. A carved bed with velvet throws, fragrant oils arranged in elegant glass vials, heavy silk curtains framing a wide window, revealing gray sky, darker mountains, and the faint shimmer of guard lights somewhere below. Books lined one shelf, some new, others clearly selected for me. Everything about the space whispered civility, decorum, respect. Dinner had been tasty, filling, brought in quietly by staff I never saw again. Steam curls from my tea as I cradle the delicate cup, watching dusk settle over the mountains. The council's choice still feels surreal. Somewhere in this fortress, leaders await my guidance on implementing the Enclave systems. I trace the rim of my cup, mentally reviewing my presentations. The sooner I share our strategies, the sooner I can return home. I looked at my phone. He hasn't answered my calls. Yet, I muttered. Mikado should have called back by now, especially knowing I'm out of town. Sasha had already flooded my messages with questions I couldn't answer. My stomach hadn't settled since I arrived. Despite the beauty of this room, the outpost was a rebel haven. Dark, cold, full of secrets. If the rumors were true, these people made their own laws. I set the cup down, rubbed my arms. The robe was soft, but my skin prickled beneath it. I just turned toward the fire when the window explodes behind me, the sound like a thunderclap in the quiet room. Before I can turn, cold air whips my robe and glass shards rain across the floor. My heart slams against my ribs. Something moved through the curtain, fast, black, steel. My breath caught. Pain ripped across my shoulder. I stumbled backward, hand already lifting. A flash of fire burst from my palm. That time the scream fell back against the far wall. Another shape lunged through the broken window, masked, cloaked, blade raised. I twisted, fire flying from my fingertips. Ouch! I yelled as my hip slammed into the sideboard. Another cut grazed my side. The air filled with the stink of smoke, burning cloth, metal, flesh. Another scream! The door splinters open. Binopik! He moves like nothing I've ever seen. Not human, not entirely solid. One moment he's at the door, the next he's got an attacker by the throat. The crack of skull against stone makes me flinch. One of the intruders dropped instantly, his head slammed against stone. Another swung a blade. Binopik caught it bare-handed, twisted the wrist until it cracked. The sound echoed in the room, my legs shake. Blood soaks warm through my robe. The room tilts sideways as I slide down the wall. my palm pressed against my shoulder. Every breath sends sharp pains through my ribs. Another attacker charged. Metal flashes. Bodies fall. It's happening so fast I can barely track it. The sounds blur together. Breaking bone, pain grunt, the thud of bodies hitting stone. The room spun. I dropped to the floor. My side throbbed. My hands shook. My breath came fast, shallow. What is happening? What is this? One figure tried to run. An object moves faster than anything that size should move. A blur of motion, a silver flash, another body dropped. When it stops, my ears ring in the sudden silence. My hands won't stop trembling. The taste of copper fills my mouth. I've bitten my tongue without realizing it. My robe was torn. My hair had come loose, wound around my face. Betrayal stands among the fallen attackers, his breath coming hard and fast. Silver blood, not red, trickles down his arm. The rooms on his cuffs pulse with fading light. He turned toward me. "You're safe," he says. I blinked at him. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Safe? There was blood on the floor. Smoke curled from the curtains. Who were they? Why are they here? Why me? Betrayal kneels beside one of the bodies, pulls something from the belt, a patch, torn. No crest I recognized. "Not local," he muttered and rose slowly. My throat burned. "What? Why?" I whispered. He held my gaze. "You represent the Enclave," he said. That was enough. Then he turned and walked out. An hour later, I sat upright in the velvet chair, back stiff, tea untouched. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting lazy amber light across the polished floor. New curtains already hung where glass had shattered. The room looked elegant again, serene, untouched. 2 armed Enclave guards stood just outside my door. My shoulder throbbed beneath the robe. The healer had dressed it carefully, clean, precise, but the salve only dulled the sting. My side still burned where the blade had grazed. When the women arrived, small, agile, beautiful, I'd asked if they lived in the Outpost, if they were breeders. They didn't answer, not a single word. Either I didn't speak their language, or they simply refused to speak to me. I doubted it was the language. They moved like professionals, efficient, practiced, too practiced. Something about it didn't sit right. Healing was usually done in pairs, one to work, one to soothe. Calming the patient was half the medicine, but there had been no warmth, no gentle reassurance, just silence. I hadn't seen any children either. No mothers, no swollen bellies, no training chambers for younglings, not even a nursery protocol in the residential wing. What is this place really? Betrayal had said the attack was because I came from the Enclave, but now I was wondering if it had something to do with the women. Were they barren like me? None of it made sense. A knock pulled me from my thoughts. I didn't have to ask who it was. "Come in," I said. He entered, cloaked and unarmed. The women who had been cleaning left without a word. "Betrayal, why am I still here after that attack?" I asked, voice hardening. As an honored council representative, I refused to be treated and handled like property. I glared at the clothing they expected me to wear, at the instructions for how to do my hair. I came here to discuss building a system, one that ends in a white ball, but no one's even mentioned that. I tossed the dressing instructions from the Outpost leaders onto the floor. "What the hell is going on?" He said nothing. My voice dropped to a fierce whisper. Who attacked me? Then finally he said, Not locals. I folded my arms, glaring at him. You said that already. He moved toward the hearth, close enough to be heard, but not enough to crowd. Your presence offends people, he said quietly. The idea of you here, not tethered to a master dragon, means the council has reach, that the Enclave thinks it can spread. I didn't come to claim territory, I shot back. I came to talk, to explain, to symbolize, he said softly. I narrowed my eyes. I'm not a symbol. He tilted his head. Is that what they told you? His words hit harder than I expected. I turned toward the window, breath catching in my throat. I didn't speak again for a long moment. Then quietly I said, The healers. They didn't act like any I've known. He nodded. Because they're not like any you've known. Why are there no children here? I pressed. Silence. No mothers. No pregnant females. No training chambers for younglings. Still silence. My hand drifted to my stomach, subconsciously, then stopped. Why petition my council if your system works? I asked, changing tactics. He looked at me fully now. It doesn't. My pulse stuttered. There's an older treaty, he continued, one that bound my people, those who weren't dragons but not quite human either, the ones who were built for war, designed to obey. Like you. He didn't deny it. That treaty was sealed by a Breedable with a specific condition. Condition? I asked in a low voice. She had never conceived, never carried a shifter's child. Her womb was untouched by flame. It made her immune and binding. My throat tightened. You're saying she was barren? He hesitated. I'm saying she was locked. A chill moved down my spine. He doesn't know. He's guessing. He can't know. Benopik stepped back toward the door. Some think you might be the key to a new treaty, not because of who you are, but because of what they suspect you are. Others think you're a spy, a plant from the Enclave, here to bring this region under council control. My hand clenched. I'm here to discuss breedable mating habits. He raised a hand, voice calm. No one believes that. Is that what they told you? Think about it before you answer. But you should understand why others might want to test the theory. The door closed behind him. I stood frozen as several truths slammed into me. The fire flickered in the hearth. Somewhere outside, bells chimed the second hour past midnight. I walked to the sideboard, picked up my phone. Still no message. Still no call. I set it down again. Damn it, Mikado. Why aren't you here when I need you? The invitation came just before lunch, a formal summons, stamped with the Outpost seal, delivered by one of my assigned guards. The leadership is ready to receive you. I ignored the sheer gowns they sent, the ridiculous hair instructions, and dressed in a deep green tunic embroidered with silver threading. The Enclave crest pressed into the collar, hair pulled back in a braided crown, just like I wore for council receptions. This wasn't just about appearance. This was about presence. Let them see exactly who they're dealing with. My guards flanked me as I walked to the council chamber. It was massive, cold, square, high windows, dragon banners long since dulled by dust and disuse, a black obsidian table, mismatched chairs, a failed attempt at formality. I caught a glimpse of Benopik, half-shadowed in the hall. My heart started to pound. Why is he here? 3 men waited inside, older, silent, staring. I stepped forward, greeted them politely, took the seat they offered, and folded my hands on the table. I waited for opening remarks, questions, the diplomatic formality I'd trained for since the day I was summoned. The leader, a gray-eyed male with scars on his knuckles, spoke first. "We're grateful you've come. The Outpost is in need of fresh arrangements. Even though you've ignored our generous gifts and instructions, your presence suggests the Council is finally ready to open direct negotiations." I smiled at their audacity. Their instructions for how I should wear my hair and show my body were not meant for discussions. They were meant for foreplay. Not happening. Still, I kept my voice even. "I'm here to explain the breedable contract process, how pairings are selected, what expectations are required, how mutual benefit is established." He nodded. "Good. Then let's start with delivery. You're a good start. When will the others arrive? Do the contracts include fertility guarantees? Would the Council allow bulk transfers to Virehold?" I blinked. "What?" He steepled his fingers. Calm. "How soon can the females open for contract this cycle be delivered? We've reviewed your lineage registry. Impressive. Fertility rates are higher than anticipated. Are there tiers of pricing?" His words didn't land all at once. Not completely. But when they did, they hit like a slap. They thought I was a broker. They wanted to buy Breedables, the sheer gowns, the hair, the forced elegance. They didn't see me as a diplomat. They saw me as merchandise. "I'm not here to negotiate sales," I said tightly. "Aren't you?" the leader replied. "We were told the Council was open to collaboration, expansion." Another man chimed in. "Border cities do it all the time. We were told the Enclave was expanding and would send a representative of the finest caliber, so we'd know what we're buying." "Buying?" I grabbed my phone, searched for White Thunder's name, dialed. No answer. Dialed again. Still nothing. "We have funds," the man continued smoothly. "Quarters can be upgraded to accommodate offspring. Naturally, we'd prefer contracts that prioritize us keeping our heirs." He smiled. "Is there anything you need to make you more comfortable while we get to know you better?" He pointed to the other two males. "You'll only serve us." I couldn't breathe. They think I'm here to deliver wombs, sons, obedience. "I'm not here to sell Breedables," I said, hands clenched tight. "There's a process, courtship, a ball with contracts." The room stilled. The leader's tone didn't shift. "We know about the ball, the contracts, the other stuff. You're here so we can bypass all that. You've had time to get comfortable and prepare for us." My mouth opened, then closed. "Bypass? Comfortable?" He shrugged. "We need the females, without all the prissy stuff." I stood, turned to leave. "Wait," the leader barked. "We're not done." Guards blocked the door. "Just because the contract's not formalized doesn't mean you can disrespect us." And that's when it hit me, the full weight of it. White Thunder knew I could not birth sons and sent me anyway. A gesture that looked like diplomacy, but was a stab in the back and heart. Would these men kill me when I didn't conceive? Put a ring in my nose or collar around my neck? How long would they keep me here? Did Mikado know? Is that why he never called? "Nyla." The leader called my name. I turned, smiled. "Is there anything else you require from our enclave?" Then I returned to my seat and listened with growing horror to what they expected of me, and what White Thunder had truly done. Binopik caught up to me in the hall. I didn't stop walking, my fists clenched at my sides. "Did you know?" I snapped. He didn't answer. "You hinted White Thunder hadn't told me everything. Was this it? Did he send me here to sell bodies? To birth sons for these men?" We reached the outer corridor. My guards were gone. Dismissed. They thought I was already theirs. I stopped and faced him. "Say something." He looked at me fully. "You were never supposed to know." The words hit harder than I expected. They never wanted answers. I whispered. They wanted inventory. He nodded. How long will they keep me here? His jaw tightened. Until you birth them a son. Cold rolled down my back. Desperate, I checked my phone again. No missed calls or messages. I dialed White Thunder. No answer. He sent me here. Said I'd be safe. That I'd represent our enclave with honor. I swallowed the bitterness and focused. I want to leave, I said. Today. Betrayal nodded. I can take you, but not through the main gate. Why? Did I trust him? Probably. They will insist you remain longer for tests and impregnation, he said. I stared at him wide-eyed. I don't have a choice, do I? He nodded. You do. Now. He didn't rush me. I returned to my quarters, changed into simpler clothes, left everything else behind. Betrayal led me through a maintenance hall, behind the council chamber, down a narrow stairwell that smelled of stone and rust, a servant's corridor, a hidden exit. I didn't ask where we were going. Not yet. As the heavy door closed behind us and the mountain air bit at my cheeks, I turned, just once, to look back at the outpost. Recalling our previous conversation, I whispered, I didn't come to save anyone. Betrayal kept walking. His voice was low. That's why you still can. We walked in silence for a long time. The mountain trail twisted narrow and steep. Snow crunched beneath our boots. Wind tugged at my cloak, sharp and biting. Betrayal walked ahead, always just far enough to give me space, never far enough to leave me behind. I should have been afraid. I should have suspected foul play, but I didn't. Finally, I spoke. You said the original treaty was sealed by someone like me, a breedable who'd never conceived. He didn't turn. Yes, he said. I bit my bottom lip. You think I can do the same? We don't know. I frowned. But we're going to test it out anyway. He paused, looked back. I helped you leave the outpost. That was the priority. We crested a ridge, descended into a narrow pass. Stone walls closed in around us. Sigils glowed faintly in the rock, etched long ago by hands I'd never meet. I slowed my pace. If I try to help, I asked carefully, you'll take me home? He nodded once. You have my word. I looked at his cuffs. Your word. Bound by what? He glanced at the runes on the metal. Not all chains are visible. A large iron gate groaned open under his hand. It revealed a hollowed cavern, round, vast, echoing with old magic. At the center stood a single altar, stone, weathered, cracked, and pulsing, softly, with a golden light that moved just beneath the surface, like something carved long ago, waiting. I stepped forward slowly. What is this place? Betrayal's voice echoed behind me. The binding chamber, where the last treaty was signed, where yours could be. I turned sharply. I didn't agree to that. You haven't agreed to anything. I took another step toward the altar. My heart beat faster. Faint images danced beneath the stone. A woman's silhouette, a seal across her midsection, flame and chains woven as one. Something stirred inside my chest. This isn't a coincidence. Betrayal stepped forward, gold eyes catching the flicker of old light. The old terms are collapsing. My people will be hunted again if nothing holds, and no one else is eligible. I folded my arms. Because of what you suspect about me. Not me, he said, motioning behind him. Them. I inhaled sharply. You brought me here hoping I'd, what, let this stone take something from me I never agreed to give? His expression didn't change. This altar doesn't take. It joins, creates, solidifies, but only if it recognizes what it needs. And if I'm not what it needs, then nothing happens. I turned back to the stone, stared into the quiet light. Never in a million years did I expect anything good to come from being barren. Benopik and his people saved my life, healed me, asked nothing in return. My people? They sent me to be used, thrown away once the truth came out. The same womb that brings life to some can mean death for others. The air tasted sharp, burned cedar, old smoke, the memory of ash. Benopik moved to my side. I won't remember what you say here. That's part of the chamber's design. Anything you choose, any words spoken, stay inside the stone. I looked at him. You're bound to silence? He nodded. Magic woven before either of us was born. The torches flickered. The chamber seemed to breathe. I stepped closer to the altar. My fingers hovered above the stone. What happens if I walk away? His answer came without hesitation. You return home. Tell them you escaped to save your life. Tell them the outpost wanted more than you could give. Your guards will confirm it. You'll be safe from retribution. And your people? He paused. We disappear again. I looked down at my hands, small, capable. Then I placed them on the altar. The stone flared. My head flew back as the symbols crawled up my arms, gold flowing through my veins like ink. It disappeared beneath my cloak, coiling low into my stomach. The warmth was almost painful, but not in a way I could explain. I shook, breathed deep. Seconds later, the chamber fell still. Benopik bowed his head. Thank you. His voice was different now, softer, younger, hopeful. The treaty has a new name now. Whose? I whispered, almost afraid. He looked at me. Yours. The words hung in the air. The altar hadn't taken anything. It thanked me. It honored my barren womb, not as a failure, but as an offering, not a curse, a gift. Peace settled into me, quiet and complete. As voices rose in the background, figures appeared, smiling, bowing, thanking me, admiring me. I was still barren. That hadn't changed. But that didn't make me broken. It made me powerful enough to save a group of dying people. I returned home 2 days later. The Enclave glistened under soft golden light, calm and familiar. Courtyards buzzed with routine. White-robed stewards swept walkways lined with flowering trees. Dragon banners rippled gently in the breeze. Everything looked the same, but I didn't feel the same. I walked straight to the solarium. White Thunder stood near the far window, hands clasped behind his back, his robes trimmed in ice-blue silk. The floor gleamed. The air was still. You returned safely, he said, turning to face me. Good. My fingers itched to ignite and burn his back-stabbing ass. I had to run away to escape that place, I replied. His expression didn't change. There was a miscommunication. I raised an eyebrow. They thought they purchased me, that I was there to give them sons. That's not a miscommunication. A beat of silence stretched between us. Then casually he said, They misrepresented their intentions. Then you shouldn't have sent me, I snapped. You never answered my calls, didn't keep me safe, agreed to sell us to those assholes. My chest heaved as I fought for control. If Benopik hadn't cautioned me not to attack, I'd burn this place to the ground. He stepped closer, tone softening, but not his eyes. You performed admirably. No scandal, no diplomatic damage. You acted in the Council's interest. You protected the Enclave. I waved him off. That wasn't my intent. I'm scheduling a meeting with Lytris. She needs to know what you've planned for those under her care. He lifted a hand. Heat rolled across the back of my neck. No. You are now under a vow of silence and can never reveal anything that took place in Virehold. I stepped back. What? Loose lips and all that, he said calmly. We can't take chances. No one can know what happened or what was discussed. I stared at him. Do you even know what happened? I thought of Benopic's people, how they treated me like royalty with a large feast, offering me gifts and a place with them, which I refused. Yes, White Thunder said with a flippant wave. I've had several conversations with Virehold leadership. I smiled, walked to the door. Then you don't know everything. I closed it behind me, ignoring his voice as it followed, and I didn't look back. That evening, Mikado waited for me in the center of the courtyard, elegant, impossibly handsome, a dark high-collared jacket, a small satchel at his side. So handsome, so sexy, so undependable. You didn't answer my calls, I said flatly. His jaw clenched. I was interviewing potential students. Communication was restricted. I tilted my head, waiting for something real. When nothing came, I turned to leave. He reached for my arm, turned me to face him. I'm sorry, and before you say I'm always sorry. He exhaled, voice low. You're right. I should have returned your call. Time got away from me. By the time I called, you didn't answer. He studied my face. Why didn't you answer? I was busy, I snapped, pulling away. As much as I loved him, his selfishness grated on my every nerve. Can we talk about this over dinner? He asked, that devilish smile creeping in. That smile used to melt me. Tonight? It annoyed me. No, maybe later this week. After spending time with Benopic's people, I didn't have the energy to pretend with him. Just because I couldn't speak of the binding chamber, the altar, the golden flare that knew me before I even knew myself, didn't mean I wasn't thinking about it. What I needed was a glass of wine, a long, hot soak, soft music, and distance. This week? He repeated, frowning as I walked away. Yeah, we'll talk later. I waved behind me without turning around. Two men who were supposed to protect me ignored me, used me. White Thunder would answer for what he did. Binopic made that clear. And Mikado? I'd handle him myself.